Welcome to Chat Tsunami. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Chat Tsunami. My name's Satsunami and joining me today is another fellow variety creator. It is none other than the YouTuber, artist and streamer extraordinaire. It is MertKayKay. Kirsty, welcome to Chat Tsunami.
Hello, thank you very much.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. I actually fell asleep at the dinner table because I've been working on a video and I get a bit silly when I work on videos, so I've had some coffees and I'm ready to go. How about you?
Yeah, not bad. I wish I could say I've had a nap as well, but unfortunately I'm running off of fumes. Fumes, coffee and prayer, to be honest, so we'll see how this goes. Nah, I'm only joking.
Well, I mean, it's Brexit Britain, right? We're all running on fumes.
Pretty much, yeah. It's every time you turn on the news and you go, well, that's going back off.
Yeah, I gave up with that. You're very brave for still checking it.
Yeah. Honestly, it's the perils of being A, a content creator, and B, having to go on Twitter to promote yourself. Have you ever found that where you've gone on Twitter to be like, hey guys, new video, and be very positive, but then it's like doomsday news articles popping up?
Oh yeah. I'm one of those degenerates that is a little bit addicted to Twitter, so I'll just scroll it. I've got a timer set on my phone, so I don't look at it for more than an hour a day, but I'll scroll it all the time, and sometimes you get about 25 seconds in and you're like, no, we're just going to re-roll tomorrow, see how it looks.
Yeah, good night everybody. But it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I said good night everybody.
Yeah.
So going back to yourself, I was saying at the beginning, of course, you have an absolute plethora of amazing content.
Aw.
Honestly, when I was looking through your content, the rabbit hole kept going deeper. While we were setting up this particular episode, did I tell you how I came across your channel?
No, I don't think so.
I can't remember if I did, but the way I came across, and it was one of the weirdest, not coincidences, but weirdest ways, because I had got a particular video game that I'm pretty sure you'll be familiar with the video that you made on it, that of course being the Rachel Foster video.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know, because I made the absolute terrible decision to buy it. I had no idea what it was all about. Obviously not going to get into details about the actual thing.
No, I get it. I played it on my birthday.
Did you? Oh.
It's my birthday evening during COVID.
Oh my God. That must have been so cheery.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I played it around Christmas, so I don't know if that's better or worse.
My birthday's New Year's Eve, so you and I probably played it at the same time, united by strife.
That is a horrifying thought. Because I remember playing it because I was really getting into indie games at the time. You know, I was getting into What Remains of Edith Finch, Firewatch, you know, all the greats. And I thought, oh, this looks like a really cool walking sim. The intro was really intriguing. And then you get through it, it gets more problematic as you go through it. And all I could keep asking myself by the time I completed it was, why is nobody talking about this game?
Oh, yeah.
Not in the best way, but why is no one saying this is horrific and everything? And then, of course, your video was one of the first videos that I stumbled across, and I was like, wow, this is very well researched, very in-depth and everything, and I'm sure you've probably heard that a million times for that video. But then, of course, I started looking at your content. You do some absolutely fantastic deep dives into really just everything, I suppose. In particular, you do a lot of gaming stuff. I watched a bit of your Silent Hill stuff and some of the other more obscure games that you tackle. You've also got things to do with films. I think there was an anime video in there at one point.
Oh, love those.
Oh no, fantastic. But I've got a question for you, because I was looking through, just wondering if your content creation was one that was inspired by the, of course, infamous lockdowns of 2020, or was it something you've always been planning?
Well, the thing is, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actress, and for some reason I also wanted to be a mafia boss. I watched an anime about a mafia boss, and as a 12-year-old, I remember telling my dad, like, I want to be a mafia boss. And he was like, Kirsty, there are no ladders into that. That's not something you could apply for. And I was like, all right, whatever, Colin. But I remember that I was like, probably, I don't know, like 11 or 12 by the time Markiplier started. He started rolling, and Penumbra was a thing, and Amnesia became a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember watching these Let's Players, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I need to do this. But we didn't have a PC at home that could or would. Like, my parents would never have let me become a Let's Player as a 12-year-old. So I just kind of watched them for a while, and it kind of went through uni and stuff, and I was watching H-Bomber Guy and Jenny Nicholson and JXE and all those people. And then I started to stream, and I have a few opinions on Twitch, but I would be going on a massive tangent if I was to go into them now. But after a while, you know when you're playing a game and your opinion of it is like so strong, you're either so happy with it or you're so angry with it. Because I would stream so much during COVID, I could sometimes get into this headspace where I was just like ranting about something that I played. And sometimes people loved listening to the ranting, and sometimes people hated it because they were here to like chill, and I was getting really angry over like Far Cry 3 or whatever. And I was like, I'll turn this into a video, so it'll be like a journal. And that was my system for a while. If I had a strong opinion on something and I was tired of hearing myself say it, I would write it down and turn it into a video, and it would go live and it would get 20 views. I think for a while, I think for like 2 years, I had less than 100 subs, so it was pretty vocational rage, you know? And then that Rachel Foster video just like sprung up out of nowhere. It's like a shotgun of subscribers. I was a centerbox.
Right. So, see, when you get hundreds of thousands of subscribers inevitably in the future, is that going to be your backstory, your Netflix documentary? I was in the Centre Parks.
I was. Oh, yeah. The thing is, like, when you write a video about such a contentious topic, you're obviously going to get people who disagree, and that's normal. Because I had been writing for so few people, and everybody who watched my YouTube videos also watched my Twitch, so it was quite like a close comment section. But it meant that I was completely raw with the opinion. Nowadays, I'm a little bit more measured with how I phrase things, because I know that it's going to be seen by a lot of people and I don't want to be like misinterpreted. You just step a little bit more carefully with it, I'm sure you know. You just don't want the smoke sometimes. But with that video, I was like really opinionated, and I had all these comments coming in while I was sitting around a table at Centerbox with my friends, and I was like, oh no, this is awful. And I think I had to turn my phone off for the weekend.
I mean, to be fair, I looked at the view count for that earlier today, and am I right in saying, is it in the millions? Or
I think it's
2 million, is it?
Yeah, I'm not actually sure. I haven't checked in a while, but I think it was on its way to 2 million last time I checked, which is insane.
That is absolutely crazy. In all the right ways, right enough, because, as I said, as someone who watched it and thought, you know what, this person makes some absolutely fantastic points. Genuinely, it is well deserved, first of all.
Thank you.
I have to say, and this is something I brought up in previous episodes, but the only video I have ever done, and I don't know if you've heard me talk about this in the podcast before, but the only video I have ever got close to that number, I think it got 1 million views.
Damn.
And it was a TikTok of you know the show The Boys?
Yeah.
You know how the meme was going around where it was like the parody of A-Train going through people, and people were mimicking that with different TV shows? I did one of them, but with a clip of Kung Fu Panda.
Oh, yeah.
And you know that existential way where you're sitting there watching this video and you're like, so all of the clips for the podcast, maybe a couple of hundred, maybe 1,000 max.
Yeah.
This Kung Fu Panda shitpost has got 1 million things, and you're like, the internet is a funny place.
It's always the one that you just kind of ping out into the world, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But see, of all the videos that you made up to that point, was that the one you actually thought was going to take off?
No, not at all. I remember it took me ages to write the script, because playing the game through a second time to get all of the points was just beyond all the points you can make about that game. It's also very boring. I don't know if you found that. It's long, takes ages to do anything. And I was like, oh, I can't be arsed. I remember writing the script and being like, it'll take a long time to make this. Maybe I won't do it. And I was like, no, I've made all the effort now. It was the first one where I kind of burned myself out writing the script, and then just was like, well, you know, may as well just ping this out now, and then did. Kind of glad I did, because damn.
No, I'm totally with you there. It was just such a slog at some points. Like at the very beginning, it was very intriguing. You know, you've got this abandoned hotel in the middle of nowhere. You think, oh, is something going to pop out? Is something stalking you?
Yes.
And then when I realised it was going to be more like Firewatch, where there's not really any other characters. You know, there's like outlines of people, but there's not really anybody else. So I thought, right, okay, that's killed my tension for this particular game. Yeah, when I started getting lost in the hotel, I felt it was less a thriller and more like a really bad episode of Fawlty Towers. You know, I was expecting Basil Fawlty to pop out or something. I was like, this is getting ridiculous now. And eventually I had to do, I think it was actually, you know, the bit where they try to make it out as if it's going to be a paranormal game?
Yes, when you have like the ghost detector thing.
Yeah, I was like, all right, okay, they're going to turn her into a ghost. And then that went absolutely nowhere. And you're like, right, okay, this is the way you want to play this game. And of course, you play the rest of the game and you're like, yeah, this isn't it. Again, as you were saying as well, it was an interesting idea to begin with. And then the more you go into it, just the worse and worse it gets. And I have to say, although it is terrible, I kind of considered maybe doing an episode on it myself, but I was very much in the same boat as you in the sense of I was like, do I want to play this again?
Yeah, it's like a 3-hour game and it feels like I'd rather complete Skyrim again. It's so long.
Oh, it's such a slog. It really doesn't help though, does it? Especially when you have to play through it again, because I mean there's so many games I've played through them countless times. I'm like, and I'll play it again, damn it, for an episode, but I cannot bring myself to play. Has there been any other games or TV shows or things that you found difficult to go back to research for an episode though?
I don't want to plug too much.
Oh no, plug away. It's your episode, plug away.
I am currently working on a video about Stephen King's It, like the novel. So it took me like about 16 months to read it because it's 1,200 pages.
Oof.
And about halfway through, I was like, talk about this in a video, but I've read half of it now. I don't think I can be bothered. So I just kind of shelved it, finished the book about a month ago. And I was sitting there like, oh no, I really want to talk about this. So I read the whole thing again in a week and then wrote the script on it. 1,200 pages in a week. My parents would come downstairs every morning and see me sat at the dinner table just reading this book. And they were like, almost done? I said, no, not even close. Not even close. So I'd probably say that, reading a 1,200 page book again.
I was going to say, they just come down and you're in the full clown makeup and you're just getting into character, just like...
rocking in the corner. Oh, she thinks she's Pennywise again. Oh, great.
The balloon hanging in the corner.
Yeah. Going at me with the cattle prod to snap me out of it.
I can imagine that, I have to say, because when we did the Lord of the Rings month for Chat Tsunami, I jokingly suggested to my co-host and friend Andrew, should we maybe try and read through the books, have a comparison? I have never been shut down by someone so fast.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately, it was back in like 2 seconds and they went, no, there is no way I'm reading through all of that. And I can completely understand that, having to watch all the films, and we're massive fans of the films. So, of course, it's going to be the extended editions. Like, you can't go wrong with them.
Oh, yeah. Have to.
I have to say as well, do you find in comparison to, of course, watching something or playing something, do you find book reviews and things like that are a lot harder to get through?
Yeah, I think so. When I did a video on The Boys, I had watched it all and then I was like, right, I'm going to talk about this. But when you're watching something, you can just kind of skip through. You can watch it at like double speed. You can skim it. Even just dragging the cursor along the timeline just to kind of refresh. That's easy. You can get through an episode in like 3 minutes and you can pick out which scenes you want to talk about and then go back and look at them later. And it's kind of the same with games. You can watch a playthrough again to refresh your memory. But with books, it's like you can't skim read a book that much faster than you can just read it. You can kind of flick the pages, but you'll miss so much, especially with bigger books. You'll be like, oh, when does this happen? And it's kind of nestled between, because like if the timeline jumps back and forth, it'll be nestled somewhere really random. You spend ages looking for it, you may as well just read the whole thing again. I'd say probably book reviews take far longer than they should.
Out of curiosity, because we've touched on it there, that of course you review books and films and games and things, and of course as well that you're an artist. What inspired you to go the variety route rather than sticking to one topic? Because I'm not throwing shade here, I am completely the same. If you've listened to the podcast, you'll know that I cannot stick to one topic. I'm just like, right, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about that. So what was the inspiration behind just jumping from topic to topic for yourself?
Probably the vocational rage again, you know. It would just get to the point where I'd watch something and I'd be like, oh, I have to talk about this now. But me and my brother have recently made a new channel where we are just doing games. I think we'll just stick to games on there, but my main content will be like the variety stuff again, because you just get inspired, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's honestly terrible because recently I played a horror game. I have to say, before we came on tonight, I played it, I think must have been either Saturday or Sunday. I finished
Is it Still Wakes the Deep?
That Still Wakes the Deep,
Yeah,
I know.
Knew it.
A Scotsman talking about Still Wakes the Deep.
Yeah.
How did you know?
Oh, I knew it. Absolutely knew it. Do they call you ballbag in it?
I actually can't remember. They say the word gobshite and things like that, though, which I was like, okay, that is one thing I'll say about the game. The banter in it and the slang is well on point.
Mm-hmm.
Does that ever bother you as well, where you're listening to something, usually it's primarily like an American game or film or something, and they always have a generic accent, whether it's English or Scottish, but I feel as if with Scotland, they always sound like the love child between Shrek and Groundskeeper Willie. They never sound like any Scottish person I've met.
Oh, yeah.
And you know the way you get sent clips by people and they're like, oh, rate that accent. And I'm like, it's awful. What do you want me to say? But have you ever felt like that as well?
Oh, yeah. There's a game called Song of Horror that I absolutely love. The main character, Daniel, has the accent of an American person doing an English accent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Keanu Reeves in a Shakespeare film. That's really noticeable. It only happens rarely enough that I still find it kind of charming. I've not yet gotten to the point that you seem to have reached where it's like, oh no, my representation.
Honestly, it's like, not again. You know, it's that kind of Brigadoon accent where, or it's like a very posh Scottish accent sometimes, which, again, you know, obviously we have posh people in Scotland, but you do get that kind of weird mix that it borders on Irish, then it borders on English, then it swings back to Scottish again. But for this, I was looking up the cast and everything, and they genuinely did the homework. They had people from Glasgow, they had them from Dundee, Aberdeen, Edinburgh as well, even Skye, like the Isle of Skye. I thought, really? You went to the Isle of Skye for an accent like that? I thought, well done.
A pilgrimage to the Isle of Skye.
Oh, it is gorgeous, but I mean, to get someone with the accent as well, I thought, oh, amazing. Because I mean, they do have English accents as well. I think they've got, it's Liverpool and Burnley, I think is the other one. And then they've got the one guy from Belfast kind of hangs about in the background. But I thought, you know what, 10 out of 10 for that alone. The horror doesn't even have to be good anymore, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It can just be, yep, 10 out of 10, you've got proper Scottish accents in this.
What is the horror of Still Wakes the Deep? Is there a monster? Or is it just, you know, the abyss of the ocean?
Oh, no, there is real monsters. When I first saw it, I saw somebody walking through the oil rig and everything. So, like, you're stuck in an oil rig, and at the very beginning, everything's normal. And then, of course, there's that moment that turns everything on its head and the monsters start coming out. It's basically like The Thing meets an oil rig. And it's absolutely fantastically done. But the way I saw all of the promotional stuff, everyone was making out as if, oh, it's just going to be you're walking through an oil rig, you hear spooky noises and things. But I was thoroughly shocked at how much I enjoyed it.
Good scary then, or?
Well, it is good scary, and I think it's quite an emotional story, which I was really surprised at, because you're that way when you play this kind of horror game and you think, all right, it's just going to be, oh, boo, it's the monster. But, so the story basically follows a guy who, and I'm definitely not spoiling anything here, but it's a guy who ends up getting into an altercation with someone in Glasgow, and he ends up fleeing to an oil rig to kind of lay low. Just as he gets found out at the beginning, pretty much shit hits the fan, and an event happens that causes this monster, or rather this thing, to come out the ocean. It's really good because it builds up that horror, and there's a lot of liminal spaces that they take advantage of. And one of the things that, because I was reading this today, one of the things that the creative director actually had said was that it's a great place for a horror game because it takes advantage of all the phobias. You know, you've got the fear of the ocean, you've got vertigo, you've got claustrophobia, fear of the dark. You know, there's just so many moments that you just think, oh, hell no, I'm not going into that water, but you have to because it's the only way out. And it's absolutely horrifying, but it's relatively short as well. It's about, I'm going to say about 3-ish hours, give or take. It might be longer than that. I played in story mode, I have to say.
No, I think that's pretty good for a horror game. I feel like too many horror games drag it out too long and it becomes kind of exhausting. I feel like the best horror experiences are like shorter.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, I think the only game that I played from start to finish, I mean, other than Little Nightmares, but that was terrifying in its own right. And then by the end, you know, you get that horror fatigue where you're just like, oh, I just want the game to end. But the other one was, and I think I completed that in about 3.5 hours, was Outlast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was an experience, I have to say.
Love that game.
It's so good, but so terrifying at the same time. I think it's the only time where I've been on stream and I've actually screamed.
Which jump was it?
Well, there was a couple. The very first one is, see when you're in the basement at the beginning and you have to turn on the generator. I remember watching the playthroughs. You know that way when you're watching someone else play it so you don't get scared? You're like, oh, haha, they're getting scared, but I'm not scared. When you're in the forefront of it, when you're on the front line, you're like, no, I hate this. But it's like the first 2 switches, I think, you have to turn on and there's no one chasing you.
Yeah.
And I was really confused because I was like, I'm sure there was a guy who chases you at this point.
Yeah.
And of course, I walked out and I'm chatting to the chat and I'm like, oh, it's fine. I hope you guys are having a nice day. And then I turned around, this guy's waiting for me. And I went, oh no. I just screamed and ran. But the other one that got me was, and I didn't remember this at all, but I'm wondering if it got you as well, where you're being chased by, and I can't remember his name, but you know the pig man.
Oh, Chris Walker.
Yep, Chris Walker, that's the one. You're being chased by him. You're in the courtyard, I think, of the asylum. And then there's a clap of thunder and he's just standing there.
Oh, at the top of the stairs.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
I have never yelled and just cursed my heart out like that moment. I've got a compilation video where it's just me like, oh, this is a great game. 2 seconds later, no, you're just, screaming my heart out. It's great content, I think. But it's not good for your heart.
No. Oh my gosh, no, yeah.
Out of curiosity though, do you play a lot of scary games on your stream, or do you prefer to do it away from the eyes of the chat, as it were?
I would love to stream horror games, but when it comes to like fear responses, this fight, flight, I freeze. I've said this 1,000 times on stream when I've been talking about horror games, but if I get really scared, I can't move. Like I can't do anything at all. There was one Resident Evil stream where I paused the game and we sat there for 30 minutes and then I was like, well, we're not getting anything else done today, guys. I'm really sorry. Like, turn the stream off. So I would love to be able to do horror games, but I can't move. The second you put me in a room, I watched somebody do Visage a few weeks ago. I was watching and I couldn't. I had my hands in front of my eyes. The second you put me in a dimly lit room and tell me that something is going to make me jump, I completely shut down. I can't do anything at all. I'd love to though.
I have to say that is one of the worst things a horror game can do when, and this is what happened in that Still Wakes the Deep, where I was walking through this really dark area and I walked up to this walker and the prompt came up that just said hide, and I was like, oh no. Of course they do the same in Outlast as well, where it's like, just hide in these lockers. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? I have to say, I have quite a weird response. Like, as you said, you've got that fight or flight where, are you going to react or aren't you going to react to a horror stimulus or whatever? I have to say, I get very chatty to the run-up of it. I start cracking jokes. I start talking away. I'm like, okay, this is a funny place. Oh, great. Please don't kill me, for the love of God.
I'm so jealous.
The screams don't come until the monster actually jumps out, and then I'm like, nope. Oh,
I'm so jealous. See, that's perfect streaming horror reaction, isn't it? I sit still. I get asked, are you going to stream this and this and this? And I'm like, you would be bored out of your mind watching me stream this and this. No, I'm dreadful.
I have to say, though, I do not stream horror games a lot at all.
Have you ever done Madison?
No, actually. What one's that?
That is a highly recommended game if you ever fancy streaming another one, maybe for like a Halloween special.
I'm trying to think of all the games that I actually bought, thinking, I'll play them on Halloween, they'll be fine, it'll be great content, and then they just sit there gathering dust.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm curious to see if you think the same about this as well, but I have to say, see when I die a lot in a game, or in particular a horror game, I feel as if I get quite desensitized to it.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, do you feel the same way? As soon as you get killed the third or fourth time, you kind of think, instead of, this is a horrible monster, you think, for God's sake, just get in my way now.
Actually, yeah. I actually do think so. I think I got to that point with Resident Evil 7, where after a while, your brain is like, you won't actually die in real life if something happens here. And after that, my bones kind of uncreak and I can move again and I can do it. But it's just getting there, isn't it? Dying to the enemy.
100%. I have to to say though, I think the only times I died in that Still Wakes the Deep game was because of my own incompetence.
Oh.
Not because of the monsters. As I said, I played it in story mode. I slipped through the cracks of one of the barriers. I have to say it is amazing because your character is very responsive. So he's just blurting out colourful language. It's amazing. There was actually one glitch where I was standing on the edge or something, but it wasn't big enough to fall through.
Yeah.
It was big enough to change his animation. So he
Okay.
just started screaming like, no. Bleep this, bleep that, no. And I was like, oh. Although I did have a really weird glitch in it where accidentally I swam down instead of up. And I thought, oh, damn, I'm going to drown. I'm going to have to restart this bit. And then somehow I glitched the game and I found this like air bubble.
Oh.
So it was like as if I was out the water, but I was still swimming. It was the bizarrest thing ever because I couldn't get out of it. So I was like, right, I'm going to have to start this again either way. And of course, by the 50th time I did it, I was like, right, okay, it's the spooky monster, the big face, oh, great, okay, right, okay.
The big face. That sounds horrifying.
It's horrifying, but I would highly recommend it.
I'm going to have to get my brother to play it so I can watch, I think.
See, as soon as I played it, I thought that would be right up your alley in terms of games.
Oh, sign me up, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But actually, speaking of horror games, because as you said, I know you played Outlast and Resident Evil and things, what are your thoughts on Silent Hill? Because I know you've made a couple of videos on those as well.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think that it's not as sacred a concept as a lot of people seem to think it is. The idea that trying to do it is some kind of blasphemy. I would like to see more Silent Hill likes, but my issue tends to be with the fact that people just don't seem to be able to get the formula, except actually Signalis was pretty good. Yeah, I think Signalis kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of the atmosphere and the physical manifestations of the real issues kind of going on. I love Silent Hill. I even like the ones that they made outside of Japan, which a lot of people tend to hate.
Was that the ones that were made for the Wii?
Oh, I haven't played that one, but that's Shattered. Is that Shattered Memories? I think that might be Shattered Memories. Yeah, the icy one.
Oh, yeah. What was Homecoming?
Homecoming was the tits. Homecoming was great.
They should just slap that in the box.
Oh, yeah. Quote me. I don't care. No, 5 stars. The thing is, Homecoming, I don't want to say, it's not a good Silent Hill game because what does that mean? People say that all the time about things like Dark Souls 2, and I'm like, that doesn't mean anything to say that. I think that Homecoming is just like the American cousin to Silent Hill, I don't know, Silent Hill 1 maybe, where it's like you're playing like a 20-something-year-old called Alex Shepard, and he's got gelled up hair, and he's got a submachine gun by the time you get to the first area, and there's a blonde childhood friend girl that you can romance, and there's like a wisecracking black police officer that comes along and makes silly comments and stuff, and it's stupid in that regard, and it definitely doesn't uphold the atmosphere that you expect. But the character designs, like the enemy designs, the boss designs, Sepulchre, the first major boss, is so cool. Scarlet, super cool. All the visual concepts are great. It's so good. But there tends to be this kind of halo around the original 4 Silent Hill games, and it just means that people don't have room in their hearts for another game that genuinely tried very, very hard and did okay, I
mean, to be fair, that seems to be the case for a lot of games these days. Whether it's in horror or especially in the FPS genre or anything to do with sci-fi games like Halo, for example. Have you noticed that yourself, that there seems to be this kind of need from gamers to sanctify their nostalgia, as it were, the previous games, that, as you were saying, the Silent Hill as well, that the previous games for most series were the best ones and, they shouldn't be touched, whereas the new ones will never live up to the hype. For legal reasons, that's a joke.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, really. You also critique games quite a lot as well. How often do you get told that you've missed the point?
Apparently not as often as I should be, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think because I go under the radar quite a bit, so I come out with the most left field takes on gaming to be like, yeah, this is rubbish or that's rubbish, and no one really picks up. But the one person that does, they bring the fury and all the vitriol to be like, no, this is wrong. Because a couple of months ago, my friend and I did a whole Star Wars month.
Oh no.
Again, surprisingly, we did not get much backlash for it, even though we were very positive about the sequels, the prequels, the original. We were very fair fair and balanced. Well, I like to think we were fair and balanced. If
Yeah.
you want to listen, check out justinami.com for more episodes. But yeah, we also reviewed the Star Wars Battlefront game,
Ooh, okay.
which came out 20 years ago, would you believe?
Did it?
Yes. And it made me feel old and my hips sore, so I cannot believe it, because next year it'll be the 20th anniversary of Battlefront 2, which I was like, that's even worse. But we talked about that, and I always remember this ages and ages ago. I streamed, I think it was Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
And you know how when you're playing it and you unlock the Jedi characters or the Sith characters or whatever,
Yeah.
and there's two particular characters that they didn't have in the console versions. I think they actually had it for the Xbox and the PC, but not for the PlayStation version. So I had the PlayStation version growing up. I didn't know these characters were in it. And one of them is, and before I go on, are you a fan of Star Wars? Or
I'm very neutral to Star Wars.
Neutral, okay.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is because there's a fish guy with his shirt off that they decided to include in the game.
Okay.
And in case the fans go after me, yes, his name's Kit Fisto, blah, blah, blah. But anyway,
Fisto.
I know, that's his name, Kit Fisto. Their words, not mine. Lucas, you genius. Anyway, at the time, he was in a 2003 cartoon of Star Wars or something, where he had to dive underwater and fight, and he had his shirt off, and he had this wavy lightsaber. And I watched that growing up. So as soon as I saw that model, I was like, oh, cool, they've brought it from this particular game. And I went to Twitter and said, oh, it's cool, they've brought these two characters from this particular show. And there was this one guy.
Oh, it's always one, isn't it?
He decided to die on this hill by challenging me and being like, no, that's not so-and-so from this, it's so-and-so from that. And all I could keep thinking was, so the hill that you've decided to die on here is a shirtless space fish. How many shirtless space fish scenes have you watched to come to the conclusion that this is not from that particular show? That was a very sobering day. If you had that comment-wise on your posts on Twitter and things where you just look at it and you go, what is going on?
I received one annoying quote tweet where somebody hadn't seen my Silent Hill video, didn't know that I was a woman, and like retweeted me saying, this guy's got no idea what he's talking about. I've not watched the video, but I can only imagine that he's stupid and blah, blah, blah. And I saw this and I was like, okay. And I turned all notifications off forevermore, unless the person who interacts already follows me, because I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it was just that one thing. I remember I was in a hotel in Brazil and I was like, I am so angry. I am like seething with frustration at how like helpless this situation is. There's nothing I can say to this person. There's no point talking to this person. This is the most annoying thing that's ever happened to me. And I just had this realization where I was like, if my Twitter account gets any bigger, this will only happen more. And I was like, right, notifications off. So I can say no, but only because I have strong-armed it so that I never have to see it.
Is that something you do worry about though? Because I have to say, I've thought about that as well in terms of myself, because you do see smaller creators take off and everything. You think that is absolutely fantastic. Go you, etc. And then the amount of just negativity that comes after them. Would you say that it's gotten worse over the years, or do you think it's probably on par?
Oh, definitely. Not to get too political, obviously, I am super left-wing, like extremely left-wing. My critique of the online left is the obsession with the idea that you can never have done anything wrong, and having never done anything wrong is more important than doing one thing right. So I follow like Big Joel, ContraPoints, those kinds of people, and the amount of times I've seen them get absolutely dragged for not necessarily doing something wrong, just doing something that doesn't have this pantomime of perfection. I remember ContraPoints invited somebody to be a voice actor on one of her videos, and this person refers to himself as a transsexual instead of transgender, right? And he's kind of older, he's like, I think he's like 50 or something, so I guess he's from a time where that was the term. But I remember seeing ContraPoints get, in the rawest sense of the word, cancelled, destroyed, to the point where she had to go offline for like a few weeks. It was death threats, just harassment. Every post was like full of just this explosion of rage. And I just remember thinking, it's not that big a deal. You know, it doesn't need to be this big a deal a lot. And I feel like something like that is definitely going to happen to me one day. And it's going to be so annoying, you know?
No, absolutely. I'm wondering if you're the same as well, because you do a lot of variety stuff as well, that there's a lot of different fandoms and things that I keep coming across. You know, I cover a lot of, for example, Sonic the Hedgehog content, which is a goldmine.
Tempestuous, eye of the storm content.
Really, it is. It's absolutely... It could be the best place and the absolute worst place, because I do a lot of content as well with a friend of the channel, Wisteria Moth, absolutely lovely person and creator, and we did an episode on talking about what it means to be a Sonic fan.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, we were very positive and everything. More like, this is a refuge for people, it is a safe space, it's something that you can feel safe in and such. And then the minute you log off and go onto Twitter, it gets proven wrong right away when you get all these people dogpiling one creator and that creator. And obviously it's not just Sonic fans. You've got Star Wars fans who are getting raked through the coals just now because of the new show. And then there's been a really big rise in grifter content as well. And I used to be very neutral. I used to be very Switzerland about this, to put it nicely, where I was like, I don't agree with that, but I'm just going to stay out of it. Now I just don't care. Now I just keep going into it. I don't spend a lot of time on it, you know. Yeah, I'll say my piece and then I'll dip out and turn the phone off. But it's same with Doctor Who as well. Any sci-fi franchise, anything to do with Disney, there's just so many grifter channels popping up that are just saying the exact same things.
Yeah.
For some reason they use the same thumbnails, which is really weird.
Yeah, they do, yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. If I am, for example, scrolling Twitter, or if I see a video that I don't agree with, or a tweet, let's say somebody's like, oh, the new Doctor in Doctor Who is black, that's false diversity. I just scroll away. I don't care, because I'm like, they're wrong. I don't know this person. They haven't tweeted this for me. I might mute them if they're especially annoying, or maybe I'll block them if they're abusive, but I don't give a shit about what you think. You just move on. I feel like so many of these grifter channels become so big because people on the online left are obsessed with them in turn. It becomes like this stupid tennis match of back and forth. There's some Twitter people that I follow who post some really good stuff, but then after a while they'll stop posting things like, oh, this new episode has a black main character. The right wing are going to hate this and I love it. And I'm like, stop. The only reason these people are this big is because you retweet them all the time and you reply to them all the time and you're fanning these flames all the time. If you ignored them, there wouldn't be money to make from this. Stop. It annoys me so much to see people just getting into these fights all the time. I mean, just leave it. Who cares?
Well, I mean, just look at shows like that Velma remake.
Yeah.
That annoys me to no end, because I remember seeing the previews. I was like, wow, this looks awful.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I've got no interest. But then, of course, as you said, you've got YouTubers who pop up saying, oh, I watched the new Velma show. It's awful. Yeah. And I was like, well, yeah, I saw the trailer. It looks terrible. Yeah. But of course, that hate watching somehow funded, you know, a second season. Surprise, surprise, it's just as bad. And everyone's like, oh, how could this happen? And you're like, well, it's the same with games as well.
Yeah.
It feels like just this perpetual cycle of, I'm going to hate watch, hate play something. There's no point to it, is there? It's just self-destructive, really, you know? And I hate the fact that that is what content has been reduced to for a lot of people. Not you, of course, your content's fantastic. But for people who are just like, oh, this is going to be my content now, I'm just going to watch the worst of the worst. And it's okay to watch things like that if that's your gimmick, but I personally, I don't think they understand the influence that they have, because I know the clues in the name influence are influencing people, but especially with Star Wars, for example, the amount of people that keep popping up saying, oh, I got a death threat from so-and-so's channel, and then people from that channel saying, oh, I got death threats from so-and-so, and it's just absolutely crazy.
It's cringe.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's cringe.
Do you ever consider that, though, when you're making your videos and things? Do you, I assume you do, but you consider that what you're putting out there is going to influence what people think about this particular topic?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I tend to make stuff after I've seen it. As I mentioned, it's like my rage journaling. So, for example, with The Boys, I watched 3 seasons. I got to the end of the 3rd season. I was like, I think this is crap now. And then I made my video. I haven't watched watch season 4 because I know that I don't like it anymore. But if I wanted to, I could make a season 4 still sucks video and just leech off that. I cover a ton of Bloober stuff and I've covered a ton of Silent Hill stuff, so I get comments sometimes being like, are you going to cover Bloober's Silent Hill 2? And I'm like, presently, no. I have no plans to literally purchase that game to hate play it and farm content off the back of it. If it comes out and people say it's good, yeah, I'll buy it and then I might talk about it. But there's definitely there's a demand for it because people really like seeing their opinions vindicated, which is quite an innocent thing. I love it when I mention that I think The Boys has gone downhill and the person I talk to goes, oh my god, yes. But I guess people don't realize how they they just feed into this cycle of profiting off watching stuff just to shit on it. Also, is swearing okay?
Well, it is now.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
you
no,
can
no,
bleep
it's
me.
fine.
I can. All right.
No, it's fine.
I should have asked in advance.
I know what you mean. The amount of shows, and I'm totally with you there on The Boys, because I've checked out that Gen 5, is it? Or Gen V, rather.
Yeah, I heard of that.
I was not a fan, I'm going to be honest. Maybe that's the spicy take that's going to catapult me into the limelight here, but I did not care for it. I watched bits of it, I flicked through it, I was like, this is the thing. For shows like that, I think it's very symptomatic of the writing. You know, it's not to do with the actors and things, because this is what I find quite bad about the new Doctor Who, that I've watched the episodes a couple of times because I would watch it like the nerd I am at midnight, and then if I was visiting my parents or things, which weirdly enough they enjoy it, even though this is a weird thing, they don't like sci-fi, because they used to watch the old, well, I say old, the 2005, nearly 20 years ago as well.
Oh my god.
They used to watch the Christopher Eccleston stuff and the early David Tennant stuff, and then when they got a bit too sci-fi for them, no pun intended, it alienated them, so they decided, nah, we are not going to watch this anymore, which is fair enough. But it just goes to show that although one side of the fan base might not like it, there's definitely an area that do, because one of the things that really struck me, and I thought this was quite sweet, was when I went to Comic-Con, pre-COVID of course, and there were so many wee girls especially dressed up as Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. And that's the thing that I kind of think back to in terms of, see, when I'm critiquing something, unless it's irredeemable, like Birdemic, at least I can say that's funny, but it's still absolutely terrible. I know in good conscience I'm not going to offend, I don't know, a Birdemic fan club or anything like that.
Oh, there will be one out there.
Oh, there will be, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but... No, hopefully they don't come and get me.
Pipe bomb en route. The drones are locked on. Yeah.
I've got coat hangers there. I'll just swing it at them. They'll go away eventually. But that's the thing though. Whenever I critique things like that, I always think that although I might not personally like it, unless, you know, I think, oh, this is absolutely dross, I'm not going to really keep up with it, I know that other people will like it. Obviously, as long as it's not problematic, that's obviously a given. But as long as people are enjoying it, I don't feel as a content creator like I can say to people, you should be enjoying that because of X reason, Y reason. But a lot of people seem to think that they're the quality arbiters almost. They can say, oh, you should be watching this because it's terrible. And don't get me wrong, I did not enjoy Jodie Whittaker's run as the Doctor, but just because I didn't enjoy it as a 30-something-year-old man, it doesn't mean that other people can't enjoy it. But yeah, do you feel that way, that there's a lot more people who are trying to almost dictate what you should be enjoying as opposed to just letting people enjoy it?
I'm trying to think. Probably. And I think that's been around for a while. In terms of just generally shaming people for liking one thing over another, I think it's something that's probably very easy to do by accident as well, especially when you create content, because when you're making like a video or I don't know if it's the same for podcasts, maybe you'll be able to shed some light, but I guess when you're writing a video, if I'm writing a video about something, there's no back and forth. So I have to essentially present my thoughts like a report and then submit it, and then people watch it and they can respond. But the fact that there's no second voice in the situation means that I am just stating things definitively. And sometimes I'll go, in my opinion, but that's kind of flimsy. You want to be saying something, right? I think it's very easy to come across like you're doing that. I definitely have probably stepped into that by accident a few times and been like, this is crap, and if you like it, you're a loser. So I don't think I'll be able to judge too hard.
So I think the real question is, Boys Season 4 review when?
Actually, going back to the Twitter conversation, from what I've heard about season 4, and I could be completely wrong, so this is purely conjecture, a lot of people have come to my video now after the fact to watch it because it's kind of trending again, and they've gone like, oh, season 4 is just this very obvious making fun of the right in terms of like trying to get a rise out of the right again, where it's like thinly veiled. You know how I said these performative tweets where people are like, oh, there's a black person in it now, but the right are going to hate that. Apparently that's kind of where they've been going with it, and people have been going, oh, but the ratings are really high, they've reached like an all-time high. And I'm like, in that vein, are we not doing exactly the same thing as grifters are doing, where we are creating outrage politics so that people come and watch just to support the fact that they align with the left rather than because they're making like good content?
I think on the one hand, hate watching something and saying, oh, this is terrible, and then people are like, well, of course it's terrible. You saw the trailer, you saw the reviews from the professionals, and you've still gone ahead, you've still paid for that subscription to watch this utter dross.
10 hours of content as well, like 10 hour.
See, at least with Velma, and I don't know if they're there, I hope to God they're 30 or under minutes long, because if they were hour-long episodes, why would you do that to yourself?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the fact is that I really don't like, as you were saying, the other side of that conversation where people try to bait people to be like, oh, look, people are going to be mad at this and things, and especially when it comes to things like, as we were talking about before with Doctor Who, where people almost know they're going to peeve off people, and you just kind of sit there and think, well, this isn't, and don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these people who has live, laugh, love plastered on my walls or anything, but I don't think it's a very productive environment to be fostering. I genuinely think that if you want to have a conversation, a grown-up conversation at that, and I know there's a lot of teenagers and shit posters on the internet, but if you want to have a productive conversation, you want something that's going to be positive and move it on. You want to say, this is bad. Okay, why is it bad? Oh, I think because of X, Y, Z. Going back to what you were saying as well about video essays and things, I'm totally with you there as well, because I did an episode on Spec Ops The Line recently, and it was my first full solo episode, because technically it was supposed to be a video. It was taking far too long to bring out, and I thought, you know what, let's just transform it, turn it into audio only, and I put it out, and I totally know what you mean. It's like when you don't have anyone to binge your opinions off of, you kind of think, am I saying the right thing? What are people thinking? There's been people who have messaged me saying, oh, I really wanted to jump in at that part of the conversation, but obviously they couldn't. But at the end of the day, whether I'm talking to someone or doing my solo episodes, I want people to feel as if they can approach the show or go on to the page or whatever and say, oh, I agree with this, or oh, I disagree with that. I genuinely 100% do not want to ever be in the situation where I put out an episode or anything like that and be like, oh, I bet someone's going to be peeved off at this, because I think my co-host and I kind of joke about that, especially in the Star Wars month where we called Star Wars fans some of the most reasonable people. You know, because at the end of the day, and I always say this in episodes, that whatever I'm talking about, these are my thoughts, my opinions. They are not the law. You know, go and Judge Dredd their apologies. But, you know, they're not what people should be picking up. They're not what people should be saying, oh my God, Satsunami said that we should be liking Birdemic 3, for example, so let's all go out and defend it to the bitter end. It's like, if you don't like something, don't watch it. Don't fund more of it. Going back to what you were saying about The Boys, I do think there is some weird discourse that people have only just realised that the quote-unquote boys, or not the boys, but the villains vote, are the bad guys. I thought that was clear when A-Train pasted that poor lassie on the pavement. Surely there was an inkling there that somebody thought, oh, surely these are the bad guys. When the discourse came out for that people were saying, ooh, Homelander's not as bad as you think. And I was like, did we watch season 1? Have they been watching Superman? Like,
it's kind of the same as the old Breaking Bad conversation when people found out that Walter White was the bad guy. But this exhausts me. I hate it. I keep seeing people on Twitter doing the same thing where they tweet and they're like, oh, guess the right wing have just realised that for the bad guys, the right wing are going to hate this next episode, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, do we need to just keep having this conversation over and over again? Does it need to be flaunted? And some weirdos didn't realise that they were being made fun of, and now it happens all the time. You know, every single time I see somebody tweeting tweet about it being like, oh, somebody's just realised that they're the target of this joke. I'm like, yep, that was the point, for them to realise. Why are we surprised? I don't know. I think it's just part of this like rage bait farming thing that really, really bothers me, where every time I see it, I'm like, yeah, this doesn't need to be a conversation. It's like with the Walter White thing. I'm like, yeah, some people didn't get it. I'm not their mum.
Slot
I think I've just
box.
become fatigued. Oh yeah, none of my business.
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Oh yeah, it's just the absolute lowest possible denominator has now realised that they're the absolute lowest possible denominator. It's like, yeah, cool, the low-hanging fruit have been picked. It's great, it's fine, you know?
I mean, I think the depressing thing as well, and again, I'm not that old. I'm on the wrong side of 30, sure, but I'm not that old that I'm shaking my fist at these kind of people. But it's like, I watched one of the episodes of season 4, and they have like this very over-the-top conspiracy con, and it's all the kind of iconography that you would expect in one of these places.
Oh, is it like a QAnon?
Yeah, kinda, yeah. Where it's like, oh, flat earthers, and there's a scene where they're all degenerates. And the thing is about The Boys is it used to have a lot of relatively clever satire, but I felt as if the more it went on, the more it was literally just in your face with, oh, look, they are literally doing this, doing that to one another, especially with that, oh, I can't even remember the episode, but basically the hero orgy episode of Herogasm, that's the one, yeah.
Yeah, like going from satire to just parody.
Yeah.
And then just spoof.
Yeah, because it felt more like, you know, the old parody movies like Scary Movie, Epic Movie, those kind of, that's what it genuinely felt like. And they built it up saying, oh, it was going to be the grossest episode ever. And I thought, I'm not here for a stoner comedy. I'm here for... Like, I don't expect it to be like the Citizen Kane of, you know, superhero satire. Again, this is a running joke, but I still haven't seen Citizen Kane, but I do love using that analogy.
Oh yeah, same. I've not seen it either. I'm like, you know what, this looks boring. Am I going to reference it for the rest of my life? Yes.
100%. The Kane from Citizen Kane, yeah.
Yeah, Rosebud, the main character of Citizen Kane.
Yeah. What a champ. But yeah, it's like the more you watch it in the later seasons and everything, it's not clever. There's not really anything new that they're saying. All they're doing is they're reverting back to, you know, that old Reddit stereotype of the guy with the fedora and he just swears a lot. He wears the black trench coat, you know, nothing personnel, milady, etc. That's what it kind of feels like now, that it's just so gory over the top. And I swear I'm not clutching my pearls or anything with that. I know that's kind of the tone that they set at the very beginning, but it's just, there's nothing really new or kind of clever being said. But what I'm laughing at is more the fact that the people who obviously didn't realise they were getting made fun of, they're a bit like, you know that scene out of Friends where it's like Joey that just figures out something where he's smiling along and then his eyes go wide and he's like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I can imagine them watching it from like, you know, season 1 to 4 and then someone going, oh my God, that's a parody. You know, it's like, it's not overly clever that, you know, it's hard to catch on that that's the kind of people that they're satirising, making fun of, whatever adjective you want to put in here. But again, you're completely right though. The cycle of one side saying, oh, I don't like this because it's making fun of me, but then the other side saying, oh, they're going to hate that, or it's just not productive really in terms of the discourse, and especially for content creators. Would you say that makes your job as a content creator harder?
Every time there's a new wave of female custodes or Black Doctor Who, my YouTube channel and my completely unrelated videos get another wave of comments saying things like DEI got to this or forced diversity ruined this game, and every single time there's another stupid load of discourse, it just has this ripple effect of commenters flying across YouTube like they've just shotgunned out onto the internet and they just start barfing bollocks in my comment section. And I'm like, oh, great, it's just another pile of morons. like flying into my... But also in the sense where it's quite reductive in terms of the battlegrounds on which these are fought so often tend to be things like the discussion of race and LGBT people. Every single time somebody hoists up, let's say like a trans main character, and goes like, the right are going to hate that we've done this, I find it so reductive because I'm like, this does not need to still be a debate. Trans people exist, so it's like, you just put that out there. This idea that we need to like have conversations and like explain to people or have these arguments, and I'm like, they just exist. It doesn't matter. To even acknowledge an argument to the alternative is just a waste of your time, in my opinion. So to make these statements where you're like, oh, this character's trans, how do you feel about that, right wing? I'm like, you're putting them on the table in terms of the argument, and I feel like it's so, I don't know, I feel like it's so reductive and it's cruel, and I find that that tends to influence the content that you make as well, because I feel like we've kind of stepped back a little bit because these battles are being waged so often, and now it's all DEI and, you know, women in this and women in that. We're having arguments about women in Warhammer so intently that it reminds me of being back at school when people didn't think that girls played games. It's getting so, it's like so bad that it's still on that level. And I don't know, I feel like the more you acknowledge and engage in these like stupid grifts, the more you legitimize it, and it just comes back full force. It just seems silly to me. I don't know about how you feel.
Oh no, I'm totally with you there. I nearly had a flashback when you mentioned the Custodes conversation.
I've only read the word, sorry. Didn't know how to pronounce it.
No. Is it Custode? I could be saying it wrong, to be fair. I went around calling, I think there's a character called Caiaphas Cain. I went around calling him Cyphus Cain. I was like, oh boy, my face is red, because I said it, and then the person I was on with, I did an episode on what it would be like to live in the 40k universe with a very good friend and streamer, Robotic Battle Toaster, and first of all, amazing name, he's a Adeptus Mechanicus player. He kept saying Caiaphas, and I was like, okay, you know what, he's maybe mispronounced. I'll just let it slide, you know. And then I was talking to a friend who got me into Warhammer, and he was like, oh yeah, it's Caiaphas, it's not Cyphus. I was like, what? I've been saying this to you, like to this friend, for years, and you've not corrected me. It's like, oh, well, yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Oh, like with Killian Murphy and Cillian Murphy.
Of course, yeah. But yeah, going back to what you were saying there, it just gets tiring, to be honest. It is so tiring for such non-issues, because I think what annoys me more, and again, completely agree with you, and people trying to provoke that outrage, but then vice versa, the very easily provoked that are, again, they're saying stupid points on the flip side. But I think what annoys me the most is you can definitely tell where the starting point was for a lot of these conversations, and it irritates the hell out of me. I don't know if you saw the Starship Troopers controversy. See the words media literacy? They have been floating around so much recently.
I am so tired of the word media literacy.
Oh, I cannot stand it, because it was this guy who was like, hey, this fascism society is kind of cool. And then people were like, well, no, that's not the point of the movie, you know, and obviously there's differences between the books and the film. That's a whole other conversation. But the fact is, the whole film by Paul Verhoeven was a whole parody of fascism, and oh, look how amazing it would be. And of course, this guy didn't get it at all, which, not that it's all fine and good, but I feel as if nowadays a lot of people, and it's going back to a point you made way earlier, that people don't give others a chance to actually redeem themselves. They're not actually explaining why they're wrong. They're just laughing at them. And you can definitely tell why a lot of people do. I'm not saying it's right, but you can tell why a lot of people, whether it's left or right, gravitate towards people who aren't making fun of them, especially when it comes to silly conversations like Starship Troopers, of all things.
Or Helldivers.
Oh my god, yeah, Helldivers. Yep. Oh, are we the bad guys? It's like,
yes.
Did you not see the sketch? It's like, there is literally a sketch about this. It's absolutely baffling. But instead of trying to explain to either side, oh, this is why you should be thinking of it like this, not that. Don't get me wrong, not everybody's receptive to that, because you get, and this really irritates me, I don't know about you, when you get people who use the laughing emoji, they'll say a really stupid point, but then they'll have 5 laughter emojis after it.
Oh yeah. Tainting the laughter emoji. I use that liberally.
Yeah.
People always think I'm really angry.
It's so passive aggressive when people are
Mhm.
like, oh, you don't know good games or science fiction or blah, blah, blah. Oh, ha, 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 ha. And
Yeah.
it just comes across as unhinged, to be quite
Oh, yeah.
honest.
It is beyond annoying.
And what is really bad as well, and I find it disgusting behaviour personally, is when a lot of people nowadays are getting like a lot more visceral threats online. Again, 90% of them probably will just be trolls or whatever, but I think you'll have a better perspective of this than I do. In terms of women on the internet as well, there's a lot more horridness and almost a demand for justification. Like if you see a female content creator that has said, oh, I received a death threat because I like, let's say, Star Wars, for example, there'll be hundreds of comments I'll be scrolling through and people are like, oh, well, what's the proof? Or prove it kind of thing. It's like, this isn't a court. This is somebody saying they've been threatened. And instead of having people call out this behaviour to say whether this has happened or not happened, this is unacceptable. And no, immediately it's jumping to the defensive of, well, maybe they didn't mean it.
Yeah, defending a hypothetical person.
Yeah, that's not even there or is there, or, they have no bearing on that particular situation. They're an outsider, but they choose to believe that the person who's saying that kind of thing is just lying or whatever. And it's just a weird mindset.
Luckily, I have flown under the radar of a lot of these. I think because, I don't know what vibes I give off, but I definitely don't get as much abuse as I've seen other women get online. I got called a waste of a hole once, which kind of threw me for a loop for a while.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. My thing is I get a lot of people messaging me to ask me if they can send me videos of them masturbating. I get that a lot, but to the point where it's become a bit funny now. I send them a PayPal link and then I block them. But yeah, I think that a lot of the time when you get abuse, the abuse is literally just like, you are a woman. Be it somebody being like, get in the kitchen. That's just, you are a woman when you think about it, isn't it? Or people calling you shrill. Stephanie Sterling commented that since she transitioned, she has had people calling her shrill all the time compared to before. Equally ragey, equally angry. Never got called shrill, which was quite gender reaffirming, which is quite nice. But now when I see people calling me shrill or like shrieking or something, I'm like, that's just, you are a woman as well. So a lot of it is just down to that. But I think a lot of people think that it completely delegitimizes you to just be a woman in some way, which can be kind of frustrating because there's no way that you could ever debate that. But once you get it enough, you just get used to it, which is kind of ridiculous to have to say out loud. But after a while, you just either, if you're in a good mood, you can just scroll past it. But if you're in a bad mood, you'll hide user from channel. So it just kind of depends on how it hits you and what kind of day it is.
I know, but that's horrible though.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to put you down at the end of the episode to be like, oh, that's horrible. Anyway, let's move on. But no, it is honestly just horrible watching because I've had a lot of female streamers and content creators as well, and they are all absolutely fantastic people. They make absolutely amazing content. But when you see that particular standard that a lot of them seem to be held up to in comparison to male counterparts, and that is very apparent as well on Twitch, where people say that, oh, women get it on easy mode and things like that.
Oh, hell no.
Exactly. For example, the hot tub controversy as well, which, don't get me wrong, well, I don't think it was the right thing for Twitch to do, create a whole category on that. At the same time, there's loads of people who are like, oh, it's easy, just be a woman, go in a hot tub, oh, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars and things like that, or pounds or whatever. The thing is, the reason that these particular women are popular is because, and going back to what we were talking about before, there are all these people who are either hate watching or giving money to this particular person. So the fact that they're earning money from that, that's not their fault.
No, yeah. Why is the magnifying glass not on the viewers?
Yeah, it's 100% on the people who are funding and supporting that. You can't support something. This is the thing I always find weird. You can't support a particular property or a community or a creator or whatever, and then get really confused when the studio or the creator or whatever, they do more with it.
Yeah.
And they make more content, and then you're like, oh, how did this happen? And you're like,
yeah.
Well, honestly, it's like primary school logic here. It's not even, you don't even have to have a PhD or anything to figure out that money plus person equals more thing. Honestly, it's just absolutely baffling. But I think that people who say that women on Twitch, especially for streaming or even YouTube, like, oh, it's supposed to be a heck of a lot easier.
It's so hard to become a streamer, regardless of gender. I do honestly believe that it's borderline impossible to make it on Twitch now. All of the people that I've seen on Twitch that are established tend to have been people that got in early, maybe as early as when it was just in TV. But there's a few streamers that I follow called like Elias and Lobos Jr., and they are two very normal, very nice, unproblematic men. They are reasonably handsome, they are very lovely, they play fun games, and they do challenge runs. If they started Twitch 2 years ago, they would probably both be sitting at 100 followers each nowadays, I think. And I think that the only way you grow on Twitch nowadays is by being extremely exceptional in terms of being maybe extremely problematic or being very clippable, very arguable, very toxic, or just bringing a following over from somewhere else, like Instagram, YouTube, or whatever. I think that people tend to assume that women have it on easy mode more as a projection of their own frustration with the fact that they're doing everything they can and it's just not working. So it has to be the fact that there aren't creeps in their comment section. I love hot tub streamers. I love titty streamers because what people don't seem to realize is that there is like an ocean of weirdos on Twitch, and titty streamers are like the dam around everybody else. Because obviously the thing is they don't consent to harassment, but in regards to what they post and what they kind of expect in their comments, they have an informed consent, they know what they are doing, and they know what service they're selling. And, you know, they obviously have their own rules within that, but if somebody goes in and they're like, oh, I would suck your toes, they're like, I'm just going to ignore that, that's fine. If somebody came into my chat and said that, my mods would probably ban them. I don't know if I would laugh, but it would be weird, you know. People don't realize that if those titty streamers go, then that dam goes, but that ocean doesn't go away. They will just flood in. And I think that they're like, oh, women get all these freaks in their chat and that means that they become big streamers. It's like, no, you don't want the people that watch titty streamers in your chat, man or woman. You know, you don't want somebody who is there to masturbate to people on camera in your chat talking to you, because they're not going to be laughing along and donating and stuff. They're just going to be harassing you. So I think that it's a difficult sense of perspective. People are like, oh, I'm not successful, so it must be the women. And it's like, no, there's way more nuance to this situation than you're giving credit to.
Oh no, I'm 100% there with you. I actually believe the exact same thing, because when I started streaming, again, I was trying to think of ways to promote myself and everything. You know, I started in 2020 though, when the lockdowns was, yeah, oh, nice.
20s. High five.
And I really struggled, I have to say, in the sense that I really wanted to quit and everything. And again, I wasn't saying, oh, it's because of the hot tubs, you know, obviously it wasn't. But on the one hand, I was thinking, you know, I was getting really down about why no one was coming to my streams and things. And it is honestly just the luck of the draw. Sometimes you will get noticed, sometimes you won't. And that is perfectly fine. Like, not everyone's journey is going to be the same. But on that note, when I saw those idiots say, all the women have got the viewers, and I was like, I do not want those freaks anywhere near me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be honest here. There's a time and a place for that kind of thing. That is not on Twitch.
You don't want men asking to suck your toes? What kind of service are you providing?
Unless you subscribe to patreon.com/chat tsunami.
Welcome to onlyfeet.com/chat tsunami.
Well, one day.
Branching out, diversifying the income.
And I'm looking at the red panda lawyer in the corner. Yep, he's saying, yeah, he's waving his hand. So for legal reasons, that is a joke. That is a joke, but oh yeah, you're completely right. It is an almost containment of them. It's like if they want to be in that cluster, I don't agree with it, but I don't want them coming anywhere near me, I have to say. If people want to be freaky or whatever, don't go to Twitch, for God's sake. Don't do it. Come on, guys. But again, you know, as long as they're well away, you know, I couldn't care less. But I totally know what you mean in terms of the numbers and viewers and things, because it is really difficult to promote yourself as a streamer. And that's why I kind of moved on to podcasting, because I felt as if, although podcasting has its own problems in terms of the fact there's so many of them and the fact there's so many professional ones out there, not that Chat Tsunami isn't professional, of course.
Of course.
it's very hard to establish yourself. And I mean, there was a creator that I used to follow called, I think her name's Ashley Christ. I could be wrong in that. She does a lot of how to promote yourself and things like that on YouTube and other places. And she did a great video where she talked about dropping out of Twitch despite being a Twitch partner.
Yeah.
Because I think she was getting like 150 viewers concurrently.
Damn.
But at the same time, the cost versus what she was putting into it wasn't really weighing up. And I do feel at times that Twitch is quite exploitative in that regard.
Oh, yeah.
Without streamers, you're not getting content. If we weren't there to stream or to podcast on it or whatever, or the hot tubs weren't being inflated on there,
yes,
they're not getting any money in, despite the fact that people put hundreds of hours in. You know, it's really hard to be, as you said, I completely agree with you. People who are famous on other platforms and then they come over from YouTube, TikTok, or God forbid, Twitter even, and they say, oh, I'm going to stream and whatever. Because what I find quite odd as well is, you know, the amount of subreddits for streamers. I keep forgetting that I'm still signed up to them from 2020. So I keep seeing people pop up and it's like, oh, can anybody tell me how to set up for my stream and everything? Oh, follow for follow and things. I'm like, oh, those were dark days. It's really difficult. And I don't think it helps with that kind of outside perception, especially with people saying, oh, look at so-and-so, they streamed FIFA during lockdown and they are a millionaire now or whatever, or 100,000 there. But do you get this as, not just as a streamer, but as well a YouTuber, do you get the criticism that, oh, it's really easy because all you have to do is sit in front of a microphone and just speak and that's it? Suddenly you're raking in the views.
I think that YouTube is fantastic for new creators because it's exactly what Twitch isn't. So to juxtapose the two, Twitch, it doesn't encourage like mobility through streamers. So let's say you're watching like Otstrava and Otstrava's doing a 16-hour Dead by Daylight stream. Otstrava is one of the biggest gaming Twitch channels that I know. I don't know how big he is actually, but he's huge. He does it full time. He streams like 16 hours just for fun, just because he loves the sport so much. If you're sat there for 16 hours watching one man, you're not moving through other channels. It kind of clusters a lot of viewers together in one place, and when he's done, let's say he raids another person in his Twitch team, and you need to be a partner to be in a Twitch team, and usually they're invite only. So he'll move his followers onto somebody else who has like 16,000 followers. So there's no incentive to feed towards the bottom. I've been streaming for like 4 years. After a while, after about 3 years, I got to the point where my average viewership was about 40. I never, ever, ever had a higher audience than 100, ever. So this idea of essentially you're just kind of waiting for somebody massive to come and drop a viewership on your lap. And I streamed during COVID, I streamed for like 2,000 hours or something. I think I hit 600 subscribers, 600 followers in that time. Whereas with YouTube, people can watch multiple videos in an hour. They can watch multiple videos in a day. YouTube will recommend them related videos. YouTube puts a lot of effort into recommending like smaller channels as well. So it's constantly flooding people around and like moving them to different corners of YouTube. And I think that that's a much easier way. And also, if you're not streaming on Twitch, your channel's functionally dead. If you're not live, people aren't going to visit you. Whereas with YouTube, you can put something up and 2 years later, it might have 1,000 views. It's still a ball that's rolling, even if it's rolling slowly. You know what? Actually, I forgot what your original question was, but... but I hope I've answered it slightly.
Oh, perfectly. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to say, you made a fantastic point there.
Thank you.
Well, not that you haven't been before. Okay, first one. Well done. No,
yeah, well done, Kirsty.
I feel as if with Twitch, and I'm totally there with you, I feel as if it's a lot more dynamic in the way that you have to promote yourself. Personally, for me, I feel as if YouTube doesn't really do anything for me in terms of promoting the podcast, but that's fine because I can promote it on Twitter or other places, and I get the listens kind of where it matters with the podcast apps and the website rather than with YouTube, which for some reason does not translate the listens from there to the RSS feed, which is really weird. But I know, it's really surprising.
That sucks.
Because I'm watching one of the episodes shoot up to like 50 views, and I'm like, now, some of them might have just clicked on it, realised it was a podcast, and then clicked right off off again. But you know what? Those are my 50 fake listens. At least with YouTube, you can just, as you said, you upload a video, you can even leave it. There was a video I remember making years ago, and this is like well before, I think it was during school or maybe uni, just as a kind of, it might have been during school, when it was like this really stupid Sprite video. I think it was like a Dragon Ball parody or something, but I'd made it and I checked back on it, and although I've completely lost access to the channel now, it got 8,000 views at the time, and this was a couple of years ago. Again, you know, that's kind of like a nice wee time capsule for me that I can look back and go, I remember when I was making cringe videos. Yeah, it is. But it's weird to see that people were still years later commenting on it and saying, oh, I think this, oh, you should have done that. Although whether you agree or disagree with what they were saying, at the end of the day, people were noticing that. And I do think that YouTube is very important for that as well, that it's a great way to stay visible, because as I said, I don't get as many listens or views as maybe I would like to in YouTube, but it's good to have it. It's good to be there in the off chance that someone's going through videos and then mine's is recommended and they might go through the rabbit hole and say, oh, let's listen to the
old
rest.
binge.
Yeah, the old binge. It's a dangerous game, YouTube, I have to say. But you're completely right. Compared to Twitch is just an uphill struggle, because I've seen so many of my friends that have gone onto Twitch and they're absolutely lovely people, absolutely fantastic at what they do, but you just look at the viewers and things and you think they should be getting so much more. But again, it's also a time commitment, because if I was to go away and watch one of your videos, I can watch that anytime I want. Whereas if you were going to go stream and I was out and about, I can't be in the middle of like a hill walk or something. And then it's like, oh, Kirsty's streaming. Oh, okay. I'll just stop what I'm doing and watch you play, you know, whatever game. So it is a commitment. Even if you're rewatching the VOD, it doesn't reflect on that. And that's what always used to get me down during COVID, because people were still doing their own things and they would put you on in the background, so you were more likely to get a viewership. Whereas, as you said, nowadays, and it's been quite a while since I've last streamed, and don't worry, I'm planning to get back into it eventually, but I don't think I would do it as often as I used to do it.
Oh yeah, same.
Maybe once a week, a couple of weeks, maybe. I can't see myself going back to the dark days of the lockdowns and things.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did 6 hours a day during COVID.
A day? Oh my God.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I would do 8 p.m. till 2 a.m. Then I would sleep and I would get up to work remotely. I'd wake up at 9 a.m. But I worked for this company so I was a UX designer, and they absolutely did not want a UX designer. They got a UX designer because the CEO said you have to have one. So the less I did at that company, the happier they were. So I remember I would hop on, I'd be like, any work for me today? They'd be like, no. I'd be like, all right. And I'd go for a nap. And then because I'd had a nap during the day, I'd be ready to stream in the evening. But yeah, absolutely unfathomable hours done on Twitch.
I genuinely cannot imagine doing that. I mean, I've done a handful of 6-hour streams. They absolutely demolished me.
Oh yeah, they do.
To celebrate, I think it was 600 follows or some follower milestone, I think I played 6 hours of Sonic 06.
Oh wow.
And I only got through one story out of 3 or 4, and I was like, oh my God, I am absolutely shattered after this, because it is a very, very long and arduous game.
Yeah. You do have to build the stamina for it, I have to say. Yeah.
I think the worst stream well, not worst, but the longest one I ever did to celebrate 1 year of being on Twitch was a 12-hour stream. Never again.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. It was, I mean, it was split up into 4 sections. I did one where I played the very first game that I played on Twitch. I did one all about Sonic. I did one about Fall Guys, and then the last one was getting spooked in Phasmophobia.
Love that game.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it? I haven't played it in a while, mind you. It looks completely different though.
Same. Waiting for the console port.
Is that still not out yet?
No, their office burned down.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Gossip. Sorry, carry on.
No, I genuinely didn't know that. I'm sitting here going, I wonder what's taking them so dang long. And I'm like, our office is literally on fire.
We lost everything.
That's no excuse. No, for legal reasons, that's a joke. But no, I hope they're all right. Jeez, oh.
It was a while ago.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Put the Slowpoke meme here. Just like, are they okay? It's like, oh, I mean, it's gone in ashes, but yeah. I'm So they're fine.
Slowpoke meme, what a callback. Amazing.
I know, honestly. See the amount of memes and things that I bring up, or
Bottom text.
your move, bottom text. See the amount of memes though you get nowadays, and I know this is such an old man thing to complain about, but the amount of memes that seep through from TikTok, and it's like, oh, look at this, it's the blim blam. Oh, you never heard of the blim blam meme? I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. You might as well be speaking, I don't know, a foreign language, because I have no idea what you're saying. It's getting old, isn't it?
Yeah, the ravages of age. I don't know what Skibbity Toilet is, and I never will.
I saw one video on it, and then I never went back to it again.
Just no interest, is there? I'm like, I've got enough in my head. I don't want to kick anything out to make room for this. I'm good in not knowing.
And again, this is the last point, I swear. That is the balance, isn't it, though? That you want to be updated for trends and things. You know, you want to know what's popular so you can promote, well, for us it's the podcast, for you it would be your videos and content, but the amount of just nonsense you come across, and you think, I have zero interest in engaging with this.
Just kind of filter through it, don't you? You're like, this is garbage.
Did you ever end up on TikTok for promoting yourself?
No, never actually.
Good.
Is it bad?
Oh, it's horrific. Obviously, because we're doing this audio only, but I'm not really one to show my face on TikTok or things like that, because, you know, at the end of the day, they're coming for the content. They're not coming to see my face or anything. As horrifying as that would be. I'm an extra and still wakes the deep, by the way. See, if you look in the background, it's me running around.
Oh, yeah.
Again, for legal reasons, that's a half joke. But the amount of people who, you know, they're doing the dances or whatever, but it just seems as if everything's just ad after ad. It's actually getting to the silly stages now where it's like, oh, video of someone I follow, advert of someone standing in the kitchen saying, oh, do you want to buy this drop-shipped item that I got millions of in my cupboard? You're like, no. You go to the next one, it's an official ad. Then you go to the next one and it's like a live of either someone playing a game, someone selling something, or someone being borderline against the TOS, and you're like, okay, I've had enough.
Oh yeah, I'm going to bed.
I don't like TikTok, I have to say. It is not my favourite. I genuinely just shitpost there with podcast memes, and then I'm like, okay, call it a day.
Perfect. So you need to do.
I used to use it a lot for Twitch, but no longer. But on that very, you know, on that very interesting closing point, first of all, Kirsty, thank you so much for joining me tonight and talking about your content and everything else.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Sorry it took me so long. I think when you reached out to me, I was in Australia and I was like, I have to get home. I love a podcast. I'll accept any opportunity to go on a podcast. Although I'm worried that we went a bit off topic.
Oh no, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. See, this is the thing I tell everybody who comes on who says, oh, I talk too much or I went off topic. It's like, that's perfectly fine, because otherwise I don't have content. That is like the terror that if I invite somebody on and it's like, how are you doing today? Fine. And then that's it. Just
what video is next? What are you going to talk about in the video?
I don't know. But no, honestly, it has been such a pleasure having you on. And before we wrap up, where can these absolutely lovely listeners at home find your content?
They can find me at MertKayKay on YouTube. MERTKAYKAY. It's Turkish for John Skateboard. Massive mistake. I get loads of Turkish messages. Or twitch.tv/MertKayKay. I'm there too. Yeah, come by. Don't send me any weird messages.
Yeah, for the love of God, please don't.
Please stop asking. The answer is always no.
I am not reviewing The Boys 4. Stop it.
Yeah.
If you want to listen to more content from ourselves, then of course you can check us out at our website, chatsanami.com, as well as all good podcast apps. I also want to give a huge shout out to our Pandalorian patrons, Robotic Battle Toaster and Sonia. Thank you so much as always for supporting the show. And if you would like exclusive content, not the kind that we were talking about earlier, other exclusive content like early access episodes,
feet pics,
well, that too, we'll negotiate. Please, that's the £100 tier. Come on, I'm going to reel them in somehow.
The sugar daddy tier.
For every tier they get a toe, okay? We'll negotiate. But anyway, that horrifying thing aside, yes, you can get early access, you can get Twitch VODs, you can get Let's Plays, you can get all the good stuff as well as exclusive episodes. So if you want to check that out, please check us out at our website, patreon.com/chatsunami. I also want to point out that this podcast is a member of the Podpack Collective. For more information, check us out on Twitter/X at Podpack Collect. But until next time, thank you all so much for listening. Stay safe, stay awesome, and most importantly, stay stay hydrated. Welcome to Shatsunami, a variety podcast that discusses topics from gaming and films to anime and general interests.
Previously on Chatsunami, we've analysed what makes a good horror game, conducted a retrospective on Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond, and listened to us take deep dives into both the Sonic and Halo franchises.
Also, if you're an anime fan, then don't forget to check us out on our sub-series, Chatsunani, where we dive into the world of anime. So far, we've reviewed things like Death Note, Princess Mononoke, and the hit Beyblade series.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and all good podcast apps.
As always, stay safe,
Stay awesome, and most importantly,
Stay hydrated.